Abby, welcome to the Calm Mom podcast. I'm so excited and grateful to have you with us today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
So, we're going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about a lot of things today, and
Yes.
I'm really excited for it. A lot of things that I know my audience loves to hear and learn about. And before we jump in, just let everyone know a little bit about you. I know a lot of your story comes through your work journey and all the
Yeah.
revelations and twists and turns through that. So, tell us a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. So currently, I'm a wellness and career coach, and I specialize in helping women mitigate burnout through really self care. And that took me a long time to recognize the need for self care. I was quick to kind of brush that aside, and it was a huge realization at the importance of it. And so now I just really want to help women as much as I can with that. I have two little boys. They are 5 and 3, and they keep me very busy. And we all live in the suburbs of Philly.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. So I can tell you a little bit about my kind of career path. I think that explains how I got to, where I am today. And I kind of go back to right after I was graduating college. My full focus was finding a job to pay off my student loans. That was the whole
I
name of
hear
the
that.
game there. And so I just wanted to find like the best well paying job. Got a job at one of the biggest banks in the world, started working there, and I hated it. Like, absolutely didn't like one single thing about it. Um, and so I quit, which seemed completely insane because I'm, 22, 23 years old, have all these student loans. I just quit. And I had a dream of moving to New York City, and
Mm.
I just did it. I went with one suitcase, got to New York City. I stayed in a friend's apartment. He was touring on Broadway, so he had a bed open, and I stayed in his bed. And I just started applying for jobs. And I got one that would pay the bills. And I during that I started a more aggressive career search, and I landed with a company that was amazing. And I ended up spending 10 years there.
Wow.
It was a financial software company where I really, kind of I feel like grew up, for lack of a better
Mm.
word, and had a lot of training, and there was a lot of structure, and it was awesome. But at the end of the 10 years, I was craving something where I could have more impact. And so I
Yeah.
left there and went into the startup world. And so I
Okay.
was really hands on, wearing a lot of hats. And that's really where burnout started to creep in, because I feel like in the more structured environment, there were more limitations on what you could take on. And startup
Yeah.
world, it was like, whatever you want can be, yours. And so I wasn't good at setting boundaries and clocking out. It was my first time working remotely. So I was working 24/7,
Wow.
and really experienced a lot of, burnout and just hitting these walls. And it was detrimental to my health, my relationships, all of the above.
Mhm.
From there, I took a break from that and got connected actually with a TV celebrity. I don't know if you've seen Flip or Flop on HGTV, but I worked with Tarek El Moussa, and I ran his real estate investment company. And what is so important about that experience was I just saw it opened my eyes to wanting to do my own thing and have my own business,
Mm.
basically. And I
Yeah.
saw the inner workings of creating a company and running it, and it's exciting. And that's really where that inspiration came from. And so Abby Calabrese coaching, what I do now is really taking my lessons learned from burnout, what not to do, what to do, hopefully catching it earlier,
Yeah.
and just making sure that people are understanding the importance of self-care and taking time for themselves, as they continue to work on advancing their career.
Yeah. Wow. What a journey.
Yeah.
What a journey. So I'm curious. I know burnout can be, we talk a lot about burnout on this show. It can be nuanced. It can show up differently for different people. A lot of
Yeah.
times the things that the ways in which it shows up, we don't really notice until it just kind of smacks us across the face, right? And we
Yeah.
can't ignore it anymore. Tell me a little bit about how it showed up for you. Like, what were some of the manifestations of your burnout?
Yeah, it was an emotional response, I would say. It began to just be difficult to regulate my emotions, to
Yeah.
handle even things that on the surface seemed really simple. And you could just see everybody around you a little bit confused, like, someone who really high achieving, accomplished. I'm leading, companies at this point or entire sales teams. And I just was breaking down and not able to handle, things that normally would have been second nature for me.
Right.
And it started to impact my sleep, my health. I was really relying on unhealthy coping mechanisms, but I wasn't realizing it. You
Yeah.
kind of are a little blind to some of the stuff that's going on right in front of your face.
Yeah, exactly. It can be insidious and kind of like a slippery slope of, like you were saying, lack of boundaries, lack of self care. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in that space and it can be pretty dark. It can be pretty scary
Yes.
in the throes of burnout. Um, so many pivots in your story,
Yes.
even to what you're doing now. And that takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of boldness and it takes a lot of um, building the plane while you're flying it, I think, right? And just being
Yep.
comfortable in the discomfort. Tell me a little bit about, I know you talk about how it's better to take action than miss out by not even trying.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, how it looked for you, and then, for the people listening, how they can start to kind of incorporate that or even like just have it as a mantra.
I know. And it's hard, right? So I can talk about it, but I know it's easier said than done. But I truly believe it's in my DNA because I have been
Mm.
able to just been like, okay, that's it. I'm going with a suitcase to New York City. Most people would be like, okay, you're absolutely insane. What are you doing? But I have something in me that's just, I have to do it. And so, what I
Yeah.
would say to somebody who doesn't have that and kind of feels like they're at this crossroads of, oh, I really want to do something, or I know this isn't right, but I'm scared. And what do I do? Here's the thing: when you take action, you win either way. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is you either, take action and you're flying and it's what you wanted and great,
Yeah.
or you fail. But here's the thing: you learn along that way. So by taking action, you're either going to learn and then have that additional knowledge to move forward and continue moving forward,
Yeah.
or, you know what I mean? So you're, no matter what, that's a win-win. If you
Yeah.
don't take action and stay where you are, that's lose-lose.
Mhm.
So you just have to get in the mindset of trusting that no matter what happens, once you take that action, you're going to be able to figure it out. That's what I would really instill in somebody who's kind of at those crossroads.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, failure itself is so subjective, right? It's like it
Yeah.
is what we make of it, or what we think of it. If it's a mindset thing, and I think so often too, a lot of what I'm hearing in that, and what I coach my clients on is, um, it's there's such an interplay between confidence and taking that action. And so many people think that they need the confidence first to move to New York City, or they need a confidence first to quit their job, or their confidence first to run this whole corporation, or this the confidence first to start your own coaching, programs. But it actually doesn't work that way. We have to take the action first, and then the confidence
Right.
follows, right? So that's such a fascinating dynamic. Like it really is a leap of faith, and then we
Totally.
learn along the way, and all
Oh,
of that comes.
absolutely. And I always say, like, the small steps are almost the most important because you're
Yeah.
building this confidence, you're learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come easily, right? It's like,
Right.
you have to just build, and so just take even a small step. And I
Yeah.
have this mentality of like all or nothing. Well, I had to really untrain myself of that because
Yeah.
it's not all or
Yeah,
nothing.
that'll paralyze you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I was just like, if I couldn't be the best and this perfect and da, 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 da. And it was like, enough with that. Take
Yeah.
these little small steps and they have a huge impact. It's incredible.
That's so good. Yeah, that all or nothing thinking, it's because it's so categorical, right? So black and white. The minute we don't feel like we're doing all, we lose all motivation, right? And
Yeah.
we just stop. I think there's so much pressure in doing it all or nothing. There's so much pressure in having it all, right? Especially as a high achieving woman and now with kids.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And it's, it's a mountain with no peak. We'll never reach that point. Talk to me a little bit about your kind of journey through that, and maybe if it had an impact on you reaching burnout, like kind of the self-discovery through trying to have it all and then the awakening that that's really not it.
I could talk about this all day. I feel very passionate about this.
Yeah.
There is so much pressure to be all of the things. And
Yeah.
I think that probably always existed, but with social media, it is
Mm.
in your face 24/7. If let's just say, you have this career that you're working on, you also have the kids. Let's say you have to step away a little bit from the career to focus a little bit more. Well, then you're going to be looking at the social media of all these people that are getting these promotions and they're doing these incredible things in your
Mm.
right. But then vice versa. Let's say you are taking a little bit more time to advance your career. And then all you're seeing on social media is parents in the classroom and doing all these field trips with their kid, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
no matter what, you're just bombarded with all these images of what you're not doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really challenging to wrap your head around that and understand you're seeing someone's highlight reel and that is
Yes.
not real life. I always go back to, I don't know, I feel like it's a quote that a lot of people kind of throw out, but it's, you can have it all, but not all at once. And
Yeah.
that kind of keeps me grounded with, yeah, there's going to be ebbs and flows of,
Mhm.
I'm going to feel really like I'm putting my all into everything with my kids right now. And then it's going to be like, all
Yeah.
right, I need to take this time for my career and building what I'm doing with my business and just be easy on yourself. Like, I just think
Yeah.
we let this guilt creep in and almost like eat us alive with what we're not doing or should do or what. And I think just understanding that no one has this perfect balance or this perfect system going on. It's all ebbs and flows and give and take.
Yeah.
Just be
Yeah.
easy on yourself and and I also think about, imagine if you really posted what you're really doing. Like, I talked about like setting boundaries. And what if I'm like setting boundaries after I like said no to someone's social invitation,
Right?
right? It's just like me laying in my bed, like setting boundaries. No one's gonna do that.
Yeah.
But it's important to keep that real.
Yeah, it is. And it's so much of what I hear in that too is I think one, figuring out like what does having it all even mean to you?
Right.
Because that, right? I think so many things are put on us, so many shoulds that we should be doing
Mhm.
or that getting caught in that comparison game. And I know for me, like I spent 10 years running 7-figure law practice and then had to wake up in the pandemic. I'm like, I don't even want to do this. Like,
Exactly.
why am I doing this? So figuring out like what does all look like for me, but then just really questioning everything and being like, is that mine? Like, is that my desire? Is that my passion? Is that mine? Or like, who put that on me? And am I ready to like shed that and leave that behind as I continue to grow?
100%. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
and don't you think, I think it happens so much with, I mean, starting early of,
Yes.
what's
Very
expected of
early.
you or, "Oh, this is what I should be doing," or, "Okay, now
Mhm.
I have this degree. Well, I
Yes.
and then now I've been in this job for 10 years. Well, I can't
Yeah.
throw that all away. Throw it." You keep hearing this, "Throw it all away." What are you exactly
Mhm.
throwing away? You still lived
Yeah.
those experiences. You still have all those skills you acquired and worked so hard for.
Yeah.
Just because you pivot doesn't mean you're throwing it away. You're just
Yeah.
bringing a new perspective to this next phase.
That's right. And I think getting real about where you're currently at, like there's a cost to it, right? So
Mhm.
not necessarily, I'm so with you about throwing it away, but also like there's a cost right now to what you're doing, right? You're throwing other things away.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at, yeah, what that is. That's so good. So when we are in a lot of those high pressure situations, or even just like day to day life, right,
Yeah.
that can carry a lot of stress, we all have different coping mechanisms, some of which I think we're well aware of. Others are patterns we've been running for a long time that might be beneath our conscious awareness.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about, I mean, you were doing a lot.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you were managing that stress and maybe some shifts that you've made that you notice like a high or a big ROI on, that people that are listening are like, oh, maybe I should give that a shot?
Yeah, for sure. So this is one I feel really passionate about. In my coaching program, I actually have a whole section around this because I think those unhealthy coping mechanisms just have a way of creeping up before you realize it. And
They do.
I mean, it can be dangerous, right? So for me, it really came down to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a place in my life and college and after college and living in New York, and never really, I didn't see it as something, an issue or a way that I was coping or anything like that. Where it
Right.
really kind of started to creep in was after kids, pandemic,
Mhm.
locked in
Yeah.
your house kind of feel, right? I used to call our house baby jail because even though they were asleep, we couldn't leave the premise, right? So I was like, baby jail, baby jail. Um, so I felt stuck, and I just
Yeah.
had so much going on in terms of stress and pressure and new kid. And so I started, my outlet was, okay, if I can get to this time, I'll have a glass
Yeah.
of wine.
Yeah.
And, what happens and why it's an unhealthy coping mechanism is it's addictive. And
Yeah.
so one would turn into two, and pretty soon I was consuming a lot of wine, and it was turning, it
Mhm.
starts a couple nights a week or what, then it was every night.
Yeah.
And it started to be, oh, I had a stressful day, wine. Oh, I got a
Mhm.
promotion, wine. It was having way too big of a part in my life.
Yeah.
And I started noticing things like my sleep was
Yeah.
terrible. I would wake up irritable, sluggish, all the complete opposite of what I needed to be feeling. I needed to be on my game. I needed to be, kind of ready to tackle the day, the kid, everything that was going
Yeah.
on. And it was just this realization. I actually remember looking at the glass of wine and thinking, I think this is actually doing the opposite. I'm running to
Yeah.
this for this relief, but it's actually causing me so many other problems on the back end.
Yeah.
And so I decided just to remove it completely.
Yeah.
And it was tricky at first because it's a habit, and
Mhm.
I would reach for it and be like, oh, and I felt like it was, something taken away from me or something like that. But
Mhm.
I'm 6 months now, no alcohol, and it's just
Wow.
been, I cannot even explain what a game changer it's been. Sleeping so much better, and I really do think that that fixes a lot of things, to be honest. Just getting, like,
Yeah.
really good quality sleep. You have such a clear head, and it's just out of my mind. Like, I started to feel like I was really regulating it a lot. "Oh, I can have
Yeah.
2," or, "No, I'm gonna measure this," and I don't have time for that, right? It's
Mhm.
like, and so that's just something that I can, like, cross off my list. Um, so if anybody's thinking about that, I would also say one other plug. I think
Yeah.
it's the best time in the world to be kind of like sober curious or give it a shot. There are a million like non-alcoholic options entering the
Yeah.
market. I don't know if you've seen that, and they're
Yes.
incredible. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I'm missing out at this point. Everybody kind of like cracks a beer at the happy hour in the neighborhood, whatever. And I have my NA, what I don't even miss it. And it's just been an amazing kind of transition for me in that shift. So I would just encourage someone to, give it a try and see,
Yeah.
their thoughts on it.
I love that so much. And I can relate so much. I kind of went through the same thing at the beginning of this year where I'm like, what would I feel like if I just stopped consuming alcohol
Right.
altogether? And it was kind of an experiment. I even talked to it on the podcast. I'm like, I'll report back. I'm just gonna like see what happens, right? To my skin and
Exactly.
my sleep and my mood and my energy and all of the things. And I think I'm just so grateful that you share so openly and vulnerably, because I think one, there is this whole mommy wine culture
Yeah.
thing that's just like not even only mommy wine culture, but also like high achieving, super stressful day, come home, and that's just how people relax, right? That's just
Mhm.
how corporate women relax. That's just how,
Right.
we go to happy hour and relax. And I think we as a people severely underestimate the impact that it has.
Right.
um right, the science is supporting it. Like, this isn't just our conjecture. Like, the science shows how there's no safe amount of alcohol consumption for our brain function and for the function of our nervous system, and all of the chemicals that are going on in our body. So I completely agree. But what I love so much about you sharing this is that I think so many women would be very quick to get defensive and be like, well, I don't have a problem with alcohol.
Right.
But what this conversation is actually very different than having a problem
Right.
with alcohol, in my opinion.
Oh,
This is
totally. And I don't
right.
I'm
It's
not
like,
like, going anywhere and saying I'm an alcoholic or using that word, because I think that like keeps people away from it. Or it's what I was worried about? I would show up somewhere and, have an NA option and people would be like, "Oh, she must have a problem."
that's right. Yeah.
You know what I
Same.
realized? No one cares.
No one cares. No one
No
cares.
one cares.
No one.
And if
No
anything, they're
one.
like, "Oh, that's cool. Can I try that?" And it's these things that you kind of, these fears you let creep in and hold you
Yeah.
back from taking a step that's going to benefit yourself. Like, come on, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
also, it does open your eyes to like big alcohol, for lack of a better word. And I see the commercials
Messaging.
now, and they try to make it look, oh, so sophisticated and it's like, oh, I kind of was tricked into this a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I saw I don't know if it was a meme or a reel or something the other day. This was like a few months ago actually, but it said that alcohol is our generation's
I
cigarettes.
believe
And I
it.
was like, it just hit me so hard because I'm like, wow, like we're starting to have a realization, right? Like our generation of like how damaging this actually is to the function
Yeah.
of our brain and our body. And I was like, wow, that hit for me.
Oh, for
What was
sure.
the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, so much of it too for me, and maybe you could speak to this too, was just the habit of it.
Yep.
So being able to replace that, like, okay, while I'm making dinner, I would have a cocktail or a glass of
Yep.
wine. And now when I'm making dinner, I still really enjoy the practice of having a drink while I do that. But I found so many Instagram accounts with mocktail recipes that are
Yes.
like delicious. I can go online and order like tart cherry juice and chamomile, like fun stuff like that. And I make myself a delicious drink while I'm making dinner and it's alcohol free.
It's the ceremony of it. I still love. I love
Yes,
to cook.
that's a good
Like
way to put it.
I put some like cooking videos and just ideas and stuff on my Instagram, but you'll see I still have a drink, right? And that's why I said yes to the tart cherry juice. That I would never have picked that up before, but yeah, it's in a lot of mocktails. That was like a little soda water,
Yep.
and like all the NA options. There's a
Yeah.
NA whole bottle shop a few towns over, and so I go over there,
Wow.
and it's like beautiful bottles, and she has like events there. It's incredible. I really do think that there's like this awakening happening.
Yeah.
And there's so many great books too if someone's interested in, you were kind of mentioning the science and chemistry
Yeah.
behind it. This Naked Mind was an
Mm,
incredible read. I feel like once you read it, it's hard to like unknow some of the
I
stuff.
know it.
But
Yeah.
it really helped just put it in like realistic terms of what am I doing?
This knowing mind.
This Naked Mind.
Oh, Naked Mind. Okay. I'm going to link that for you
Yeah.
guys in the show notes. This Naked Mind. Awesome. What was the other thing I was going to say around that? Oh, yeah. So if you're listening and curious, I would just encourage you to give it a shot because so many of the things that I just hear over and over, right? Like things you mentioned, I'm not sleeping well, I'm waking up just irritable. I mean, we all know alcohol is a depressant, but we're like, oh, I feel like finally takes the edge off at the end of the day. Yes, your body is needing a release. It's not needing that release, right? It's needing an actual true release. So I would be so curious if you're not feeling well, if you're not sleeping well, if you know your mood is off, if you know these things and you're at a place where you're like, man, I'm willing to try anything, like go 60 days without alcohol and just notice as a personal experiment. And I would be so curious to hear what you guys notice. Let us know because it's real.
And that's exactly what I did. And the reason I did it was so I'd have an excuse to tell people. Because the first things people ask, are you pregnant? Do you have a problem? I didn't want to deal with all that. So I said I was doing a 100-day challenge. And it also helped me mentally because I'm like, what, am I never going
Yeah.
to drink again? That sounded
Yeah.
insane to me. And so I
Yeah.
said, I'm going to do 100 days. And then I had an excuse for everybody. And it was awesome. And then when people are
Yeah.
like, are you done? Are you going to start drinking again? I'm like, no, I feel too good.
That's it, plain and simple, right? That's what we're all after. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so good. Okay, so talk to me. Alcohol is obviously a big one. We just I could talk about it all day too, because
I
I think
know.
it's so powerful. To cut that out, what other kinds of changes, maybe small, maybe big, like where can people start that you think will also have a big impact on their day to day?
Yeah. The one key word there, small. So I
Okay.
think it just gets so overwhelming when you're thinking, okay, I got to do this and I got to do this. Part of our problem is we already have these huge to-do lists, right? So the
Yeah.
idea of adding additional stuff I need to do, that makes me want to run away. So I feel like small changes and the knowing that they have a big impact, it's like win-win, right? So it's like, less of my time to have more of an impact, but
Yeah.
even just 10 minutes of something.
Yep.
I run. I don't really love running, but I love after running. So
Uh-huh.
that's how I get
Same.
myself out a lot of times. I'm just going to go and walk, or I'm just
Mhm.
going to go for 10 minutes, or I'm just going to
Yeah.
run 1 mile. And then you know what happens. You just start going, the endorphins are going, and you're like, all right, amazing. But it's just getting your, like, kind of ripping that band-aid off and getting out there. But some of the small things I would say to start with in terms of,
Mhm.
okay, I'm ready to do something small. What do I do? Start with setting boundaries. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are raised to be people pleasers, polite. I mean, the idea of
Mhm.
being rude literally makes me start sweating right now. Like, it was just
Mhm.
instilled in me to, like, say no. What? Like, so just little ways of, like, declining something that you know you don't really need to go to or don't want to go to, or, and carving out with that time. So, like, say no to
Yeah.
something and then slot in some time for yourself. um,
Mm.
that's where I would say, and just start small. Just do
Yeah.
just one. Just give yourself one chance to do that and really
Yeah.
take note at how that feels, because there's more than just that time you're getting. You're doing that for yourself. You're being kind to yourself, and there's just a ripple effect that happens there. Um,
Yeah.
and my second thing I would say is try something outside of your career, your work, that lights you up. And I
Mhm.
need a better word for it. I don't want to use hobby, because I think
Mhm.
hobby sounds a little like frivolous, and it's just you're quick. Oh, you have a hobby. I don't know. It has a negative connotation in my mind for some reason.
No, I
That's
got
the
you.
type A, whatever, crazy person in me. But finding something that lights you up outside of work, outside of your family, it's just for
Yeah.
you. I think
Mhm.
there's something amazing that happens whenever you can do that. And when I talk to my clients about it, I can see they're like, again, I have no time. Where do you want me to be doing all of this? But there are studies, there are all
Yeah.
these different things that show people that have some sort of creative outlet outside of work, outside of their family, it's proven that they earn more money, they're more productive, they grow to be leaders in their industry, they're
Yeah.
influential, all these amazing things. And so once I put that in front of these high achieving women, they're like, okay, where do I go? They're ready.
Yeah, sign me up.
Sign me up. Exactly. But I would say
Yeah.
those are two things. Again, start small, but set some
Yeah.
boundaries, get some time back for yourself, and find a creative
Yeah.
outlet for yourself. And I think it would anybody would be pretty impressed with some of the results there.
I completely agree. That's so good. Okay, I kind of want to end here, and it kind of flows so well from what you were just talking about. We started, and now are kind of ending with these self care ideas. I anytime I can talk about self care, especially with someone who teaches about it, I love to, because I think it's one of the most misunderstood things about, that we need to do to take care of ourselves, and the ways in which we do it. And I think oftentimes we think that it's expensive, we think it's frivolous, we think it's just the massage or the mani pedi. So talk to me a little bit about, what's your take on what true self-care looks like?
Yeah. So really, it's making yourself a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And it can look a million different ways. I totally
Yep.
agree. I used to be like, what? You want me to take a bubble bath? I was like, I don't understand this whole self care thing. I told you at the beginning, I didn't get it. And it's so funny that this is now my whole focus,
Yeah.
because it's been life changing for me. But it's truly
Yeah.
making yourself a priority. And
Mhm.
I have a whole course that goes through all of these different categories of what that means,
Mhm.
from understanding yourself a little bit better and
Yeah.
triggers and where you might need a little bit more help or guardrails up, so to speak, to
Yeah.
setting boundaries, to finding those creative outlets, finding healthy coping mechanisms, and understanding when some of those are kind of bubbling up, and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, Authenticity is a huge
Yeah.
one too. So really feeling comfortable showing up as yourself and not feeling like you always have to put on this mask of what you're supposed to
Yeah.
be or what's expected of you. Vulnerability is another big one. And I talk through kind of how this shows up in my own life through my work, but really it's just like that connection and finding your community. And so all of these have a way of going and fitting into each other, because
Yeah.
once you're vulnerable and you open up and you're showing up in an authentic way and you find your community and you have these healthy relationships, and it kind of all snowballs and really provides you that sense of self and that
Mhm.
resilience to be able to deal with all of the challenges that come our way, in life.
Mm. It's beautiful. I love that, especially the authenticity and the vulnerability. I think those are things that we're so quick to dismiss, but like boundaries, all of this, like that's true self-care, right? I love
Exactly.
that so much. Beautiful. All right, you mentioned your course, you mentioned your clients.
Yes.
Tell everyone what you've got going on, where they can connect with you, where they can continue to learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram a lot. That's kind of my place where I like to chat with everybody and share. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's inspirational. But it's at Abby Calabrese Coach. So hopefully that's pretty easy to find me.
Yeah.
And then you can also go to my website. So it's abbycalabrese.com. And you'll see I have a section work with me. And right now I have my video course up there. So try to make it, very approachable. It's 10 different modules that you can work through at your own pace. Because I know a lot of times it'll be after the kids are asleep or whenever
Mhm.
you're able to fit it in. But it touches on all of these elements of self care and a
Beautiful.
lot of different prompts and activities and all kinds of stuff that you can get started right on your own. And then also you can reach out to me if you're interested on one-on-one coaching.
Beautiful. Awesome. So many resources for you guys. Well, thanks so much for being with us, Abby, today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your journey. And just so grateful for the work that you're doing. It's really important.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I loved this conversation.